I could learn bass all over again, this is what I do differently.
And no, it's not establish a practice routine, learn proper fretting technique,
have your bass set up,
practice with a metronome.
You know when you first start learning an instrument and you're super pumped, but then the novelty wears off, life starts getting in the way, and you find you're practicing less and less? Or you're working on a bass line that you really want to nail that would make you feel like you triumphed over the universe, but you're just not triumphing? These are the critical moments that make or break you as a bassist, and how you respond in these moments dictates whether you stick with it or not. But if typical bass lessons about scales and fretting technique are the solution in these tough moments, then why are there more people who used to play than people who currently play? Why are so few people still playing into their 50s and 60s? Because playing bass and sticking with it is more than just learning the outer game of technique and theory. That good stuff will only get you halfway there. If you neglect the inner game, you run the risk of doing what I've done and realizing you've pissed years up the wall, which is a charming British expression for wasting your damn life. Instead of that satisfying feeling of being able to play something you couldn't play last month, you just plateau in frustration and aggravation and stagnation and every other kind of Asian. And you just don't get to be the bass badass you wanted to be. And dear God, I wish I knew I could have been saved from one of my biggest inner game f***ups if I'd known key number 1, don't let comparison run your life. I mean, you know when you're feeling good about your bass playing, you've been making progress, you did great at the jam last week, and then you see some 9-year-old shredding harder than you've ever shredded, and you want to throw your bass away? Yeah, comparison. Ow. This is something I've struggled with more than I really care to admit. Once upon a time, a young Josh moved to LA to make it, and I went in really overconfident because my mommy told me I was special, but then it turned out that mommy lied. But seriously, I just got my fragile ego crushed by comparing myself to all these amazing musicians. And rather than connect with the new musicians, be shown my weaknesses, move beyond them, meet the inner game challenge, I collapsed and ran away to Phoenix. Phoenix, for God's sake! This story clearly shows you shouldn't compare yourself to others. It leads to discouragement, depression, deterioration, an over-reliance on words beginning with the letter D. But here's the problem. Don't compare yourself as a bunch of bullshit. It's actually really important and helpful to compare yourself if you do it the right way. If you hear a friend at a jam and think, I love how tastefully she chose her bass fills, I'm inspired to improve next time I'm playing, that's a helpful comparison. If you think, OMG, she's so much better than me, I quit, that's not a helpful comparison. The problem is our brains are really good at focusing on the negative, and we'll deal with that in key number 4 in a minute. But how do we flip the script on comparison, using it to grow instead of letting it run our lives? Let's see what a smart person on a stage says.
People believe their talents and abilities are just these fixed traits. You have a certain amount and that's it. But other people believe talents and abilities can be developed through hard work, good strategies, good mentoring from others.
So your mindset is made up of many beliefs about yourself and the world, and we all have a jumble of limiting fixed mindset beliefs, blah, and growth mindset beliefs. Fixed beliefs make comparing yourself discouraging because you don't believe you can improve, which usually means you don't take the action to improve because why bother? Which means you don't improve. Self-fulfilling prophecy, baby. While growth beliefs tend to make comparison inspiring because you believe you can improve with practice. And then you actually want to practice. So you get better over time, which reinforces your belief that you can get better over time. Amazing. So how do you actually change your limiting beliefs and get in a growth mindset? One simple trick that's helped me is the question markify technique. Patent pending. So if you think I can't get better, question markify it to, can I get better? If you think I'm too old to learn bass, question markify it, am I too old to learn bass? That leaves a blank space for an answer, which motivates you to check the reality status of your belief. Spoiler alert, you're not too damn old to play bass. But hey, we're all humans here, I hope. We're all working on it. Nobody's in a perfect growth mindset in every area of their life. And even as I started leaning into a growth mindset, I still struggled to stay motivated, and I couldn't figure out why. Why? Oh, why? That's inner game key number 2, know your why. Cause seriously, why do you play bass, or wanna learn bass, or do anything? Welcome to your midlife crisis. If you fail to get clear on your why, you'll do what I did for most of my 20s. Stumble aimlessly, forget to practice for years at a time, and just generally suck. I really wish I'd practiced more in my 20s. Knowing your why means knowing what you want out of learning bass. Be famous, play with friends, play along with your favorite songs in the basement in your underwear while your mom makes you delicious SpaghettiOs. Mom! Find a why for yourself and you'll be able to stay motivated and set goals that get you where you want to go. For let us not forget the lesson of the Merovingian.
Why is the only real source of power. Without it, you are powerless. And this is how you come to me. Without why, without power.
Dude.
So this should be easy, right? Just whip out a journal and a 1980s self-help book and write some grandiose shit? Wrong. There are 2 easy ways to screw this up. Number 1 is forgetting about just cuz. that thing. When you think of your why, you might think, I'm gonna change the world with my mighty bass playing, and the field shall be fertile and bear much fruit, and the lion shall kiss the lamb. But I just wanna play music and have fun is a really great why if you're clear on it. It keeps you in tune with the inspiration that started you playing in the first place, and it gives you a clear practice agenda. Work on things that will boost your enjoyment of playing. The second way you can f this up is forgetting that whys change over time. Like, say you're 20 years old and you start an exercise program because you wanna look hot, and then 20 years later, you realize none of that superficial matters to you anymore, and you just want to feel good. Not only is it natural that our whys shift, it's probably a decent indicator that we're actually maturing. So my why used to be, I want to be a world-renowned virtuoso like Victor Wooten. That's just what I thought I would do when I was 14. And I was doing all the right stuff. I was practicing a ton, I was studying music, I was gigging, but at some point, this why just stopped really fitting me. I got older, my desires changed a little bit. I got more into like groove and musical communication. I just didn't care about shredding as much, and I didn't want to spend 5 hours a day practicing. But I really wasn't aware that my why had shifted at the time, and so I just kept trying to do this virtuoso practice stuff. It really didn't fit me anymore, so I just stopped practicing altogether for like a pretty long time. So how do you find your current why? You do you, but here are the whys I've heard again and again from thousands of bass students over the years. Hunt for the one that lights you up the most. But even with a why, you're still gonna have days and weeks where you just don't wanna practice, which is why you shouldn't wait until you feel like practicing. But shouldn't the muses, divine goddesses of inspiration for artists from time immemorial, forever caress you with infinite waves of motivation to practice your scales and arpeggios? Well, no, it doesn't seem to work like that, unfortunately. When we believe in the inspiration myth, the idea that you'll just always feel inspired to pick up the bass and play and create, we're living in a fantasy world. A fantasy that keeps us stuck passively waiting for lightning to strike before we actually take any action and play. Professional writers know the folly of this myth better than anybody because finishing a book takes a crazy amount of hours, and you probably don't feel like writing for most of them. Take it from Stephen King, who's written over 65 novels for some reason. Amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work. Or take it from Flea, a bassist who achieved modest success in a little band you probably haven't heard of.
It's not always fun, but if you want to be good at something, you have to do it when it's not fun. Yeah. You got to get up and practice, and that's hard to teach. Yeah.
I can't believe how wrong I've gotten this for so many years. And I'd love to pretend that I figured it all out and now I'm making this video, but like I'm still blowing it. Like I spent way too much money on pedals and loopers, and I have this whole cool bass looping idea I want to do, and I haven't done anything in like 6 months. So how do we stop stupidly waiting for inspiration to strike? The solution is very simple, but not particularly easy, and it's to just show up and do the fucking work. It doesn't matter if you feel like it, if you feel inspired, just keep showing up. Otherwise, you don't show up and you don't get anywhere, and then you're frustrated and sad. And this is why you need a clear why. Otherwise, the resistance will crush you. I'm gonna practice.
I don't feel like it, and I'm tired, and my feet hurt, and the economy.
Cool, well, I'm still gonna practice.
But why?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I got clear on my why thanks to that fantastic BassBuzz video I watched. And this is why taking a structured course, like my Beginner to Badass course, available at bassbuzz.com, is helpful, because you don't have to feel like it, you don't have to concoct a practice routine, you just show up and do a bite-sized lesson over and over. And there are lots of ways you can make it easier to show up. Like basically read this book and do all the things. It's really good. But just showing up is still gonna be really damn hard sometimes, and that's why the final key to this inner game puzzle is learning to embrace the suck. I mean, we all think that being good at bass or anything else is just gonna be this glorious, joyful experience of like, wow, I can do a thing. And it really, really can be that, and that's why we do it. But there's no getting around the suck along the way. Today, you compared yourself to bass legend of choice and you feel discouraged. Last month, you felt uninspired with your scale practice. Next week, you won't feel like practicing at all. This is the suck of learning bass.
It just basically means don't just accept adversity or accept pain and suffering, but lean into it. Be intentional.
So a few years back, I was relearning Forget-Me-Nots. You wouldn't think a riff that Will Smith would someday sing over would be so damn hard.
The good guys dress in black, remember that.
I'd been playing for like 15 years at this time, and I was just so embarrassed that I couldn't play Forget-Me-Nots, you know, but just that fast was just killing me. And I was so tempted to just completely avoid the suck of it and just fake it with hammer-ons the rest of my life like everyone else does. But I decided to embrace the suck. I literally spent weeks practicing that one stupid thumb movement every day, really slow and just working at my speed. It seriously sucked. But the fact that it sucked so much was actually a signpost that I was moving in the right direction and making progress with my playing. And now I can actually play the thing, and I made myself do it in front of you in my Funk Riffs video last month. What doesn't suck about the suck is getting to learn faster through failure, because people who fail and learn from those failures learn a lot faster than people who avoid failing. Take it from Michael Jordan, or as young me knew him, the guy from Space Jam.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
So how do you actually embrace the suck, the struggle, the challenges, the inevitable failures? Embrace that if you're learning a new instrument, it's gonna be hard, and it actually should be hard. Well, it's really easy to say, go ahead, embrace the suck. You've been resisting it your whole life, but now you've watched a video and you're saved. But you need to actually train up your grit and resilience, just like you need to repeatedly go to the gym and lift heavier weights to get strong. So here's a totally off the rails exercise to build this muscle. Grab your bass, flip it over, and you're gonna play the opposite handed way you normally play. It doesn't matter what way the strings are going, because now you suck at bass, and so do I. Feel good. When you play bass the normal way and you make a mistake, you go, I shouldn't have made a mistake, and you resist the suck. So the point of this is that you know you're gonna suck, so you can really focus on having a different experience of those mistakes. Like, let's try some Pink Floyd. Like, it's really funny to suck, you know? When you're not so upset about it and whiny, it's just like, this is funny shit. These are funny, horrible noises we're making. This is how I sounded on day one of playing bass, you know? Whether you're a longtime dabbler or a total noob starting from scratch, my Beginner to Badass course is the easiest way to get yourself to show up every day and become a bass badass. It's loaded with step-by-step, bite-sized lessons that'll help you avoid common beginner mistakes, get your technique up to speed, rip out your favorite songs, and even jam with other musicians. Check it out by clicking this link thing.